Fifth Avenue Pop Parade in New York, White House Smoke-In. And then we came down to Atlanta and did the first Atlanta Smoke-In in '78 over here in Grove Park. I don't think that legalized commercial adult use of marijuana should move forward without first being decriminalized, passing personal use, legal possession, legal homegrown cannabis, and personal nonprofit transfer of marijuana. And the reasoning is simple. As we move forward in celebrating 250 years of the constitutional government in these United States and reviving our Bill of Rights and the rights enumerated in this document in our society, we must understand that these rights are based on our individual rights, bestowed by our Creator and enshrined in these laws set therein. This is important. It is time and a necessity for us to provide for our own personal legal defense and responsibility to provide for our legal rights, long denied to us, and to restore our own individual rights to choose how to use cannabis for our own benefits. There are no corporate rights illustrated or guaranteed by the Constitution, except by extension of one's individual rights and freedoms. All claims of exclusivity to represent the individual have been abandoned in these presently proposed legislative actions. First, we must guarantee the rights of individual freedoms and rights for individuals before they are bequeathed to any private or public corporate entity. I think the past failure to move forward with medical whole plant protection mechanisms for medical patients has set the whole movement on its head. The early reformers realized early on that the rights for self-treatment with cannabis and the right to choose to use cannabis for personal health was critical for the movement forward in marijuana reform. California, one of the first states to legalize, garnished support among patients demanding the use of cannabis and helping to diminish the detrimental effects of early HIV treatments. Early pioneers like Dennis Perone, godfather of medical marijuana, godfather of marijuana reform, who was a main proponent for the CMI, California Marijuana Initiative's Proposition 215, back in '72, led the way for the nascent cannabis movement in the early '70s to succeed in public support for later legalization efforts in California, Washington State, Oregon, and Colorado. Dennis often said, he was an old friend of mine, that all use of marijuana is medical. I've never been for the commercialization or legal commercial marijuana production as it has been implemented in various states, except for the industry of growing and producing hemp. The lack of medical whole plant protection mechanisms being implemented in the state of Georgia has hindered the movement. I oppose the commercialization or legal commercial production of recreational marijuana by corporate interests and monopoly for public consumption, except for their involvement in the production of industrial hemp. It has been 50 years since I produced the first legal marijuana futures, as I mentioned earlier, and put my company, International Marijuana, on the national map. That same year, I became YIPPY, 1974, Youth International Party, aka Abby Hoffman. Since then, we founded CAMP, Coalition for the Abolition of Marijuana Prohibition, in 1978, which later led to many smoke-ins, marches, state capitol rallies, and eventually to 25 years of the Great Atlanta Pot Festival, which drew over 60,000 attendees to Piedmont Park for the Black Crows in '92, and 30,000 in the following years of 1994 and '95. Where are our troops today? By the way, the name of this speech is, Where Do We Go From Here? And, aptly so, where do we go from here? We had the power of the people then. We demanded freedom in use. I think we should join together in celebrating these upcoming 250 years of constitutional freedom by first supporting the individual rights of its citizens to use and consume cannabis. We must return to the demand that the protections for our individual freedoms are paramount. Corporate greed must not be allowed to suppress our own personal constitutional freedoms, because the root of all freedoms are based on individual rights. And now we're in a boondoggle dealing with corporate entities who want to legislate basically traps and impede our rights as a constitutional free society. So that's why I got involved in marijuana reform in 1972, and did so much to work for it, but I've become distressed that there's so much bickering over corporate and businesses and this and that. And I sold the first CBD in the state, opened the first pot shop in the city, the pot shop in Little Five Points. I have a company called Cannabisco. And so I understand the business implications, but if you don't first defend your First Amendment rights and the right to exercise your choice as an individual, then all the other rights will fall by the wayside. Thank you.